Okay, guys, can you guys hear me? Can you guys see me correctly? Let me know if you guys can hear me and see me good. Okay, guys, this week I made sure that the camera was charged. If you joined me last week, you remember my camera dying on us. So this week I made sure it was charged. All right, I made sure that I plugged it in 1 hour before and it has good battery, and it's actually plugged in. All right. Greetings to all of you guys. What do we got? California, India. We're all across the world here, guys. Maryland, Virginia. All right. As long as you guys can hear me, that is all that matters. Where's the rest of you guys? I had more of you guys last week than we did today. All right, guys. I got 10 good questions that we're going to be reviewing tonight. And giving you guys some good exam tips. I try to get a theme going with a lot of the questions tonight that we'll talk about. All right, so we'll start out by, I'm taking anybody's question. Does anybody have any questions that they want to ask me that I can get answered from them for you guys? All right, we need somebody from like Europe to make sure that we got like every continent. We need Africa too, right? All right. All right, guys, let's do some questions, guys. Does anybody have any questions that they would like to ask me for me to get answered tonight? Anybody, any questions? Yeah, I had to tell you guys to like the videos last time. Put some likes on there. Maybe YouTube will prop it up for us a little bit. The blue shirt, you know, I always wear the blue shirt. You know, that is the trademark. In almost every video, very rarely do I ever change the color. And even in person, you'll notice I always wear a shade of blue. I don't know, blue top, black pants. That's like Steve Jobs, black sweater. That's me. All right. Heritage versus Agile. Okay, we got a good question there. Should we memorize? All right, hold on 1 second, guys. We got somebody. Hey, I passed the exam on March 5th. I want to sincerely thank you. Somebody's making a comment. Hold up there. Somebody says, I want to sincerely thank you for hosting these, sharpening your tips. I found them very helpful. Very good. But congratulations on that. Zinofear, I think is how you pronounce that. Congratulations to that. And that's for all of you guys also. When you guys, after these sessions, I know most of you probably use my study materials, and even if you're not, it's fine. You know, just attend these sessions. You know, get something out of it. But when you guys pass, I would love if you guys can come back to the session, like this person did, and let us know that they passed their exam. Seeing other people pass their exam is good motivation for others, like you guys that are taking your test. What else more we have here? Oh boy, you guys here have quite a lot of questions that's going on there. All right, let's see if we can knock them out one by one. All right. Okay, so the first question I have is somebody named Republican for Nader is the name of this person. So they want to know, can you expand on incremental versus iterative versus agile? So first of all, you got to understand that agile is not one thing, right? Agile is not like one methodology. Like a lot of people that just starts out and they start studying, they have this assumption that agile is Scrum. And because it's probably the most popular method, if not the most popular method of agile that's out there. So a lot of people have this thing that agile is Scrum, but it's not Scrum, right? It's not just Scrum. It's much more than Scrum. It's extreme programming. Agile, in its definition, is really any of the incremental product development methods. And these incremental product development methods means that the product is built in increments versus the product being built as a whole. So let's take, for example, you're building a piece of software. So in general, in software development, what happens is, going back to traditional software development, what happens is folks would gather requirements. This could take up to months or maybe even up to a year. They would then build an entire software, and this can take 1 year. This can take 2 years to build it. Then they got to test it and install it. So from the time of thinking about a piece of software to actually using it, it could take years, 2-3 years before the software is available. In Agile methods, which means any of the incremental methods that are out there, like Scrum or Extreme Programming, Kanban, and so on. So what happens is you build the product in small increments. You gather some requirements, you start building the product, and you keep adding more requirements as you're building the product, and you start releasing the product in small increments. This is where we get this term incremental development. And what starts to happen is people start to use it quicker. So in traditional methods, they could have started using the software 2 or 3 years after they thought about it. In Agile, they can start using that software 6 months, 4 months, 5, 7 months, depending on the type of software you're building. So people use it a lot quicker. So there's a lot of benefits in that, there's a lot of benefit to using Agile, I should say. So the question he's asking me, so we just expanded on Agile. For your exam, when you're thinking incremental, iterative, they're not going to get too much into that. Just think about it this way. It's building things in small increments, giving out releases so people see more benefits in that. That's what your exam is going to want you to know. All right, hopefully we got that question answered there. Should we memorize the 49 processes? This is a question we get every week, and the answer is no. Do not memorize your 49 processes. I know in the study guide, somebody did point out to me that in the study guide, do I have the study guide somewhere around here? That's the one on the shelf, but hold on. Okay, so in the study guide, I do have a section where I tell people to memorize the 49 process chart. I just want to point that out. I mean, if you have the study guide, it's fine. If not, it's okay. Somewhere in here in the big process chart, there is a part where I say, and this goes back to, you see, guys, the problem with this study guide, so on page 40 of the study guide, my study guide, even in PMBOK or any, even all the other study guides have this process chart. It's not just mine. All the study guides has it. I do say to memorize this page. Not anymore. You guys got to remember, when I wrote this study guide, the new exam wasn't out yet. This study guide was written in October, November, is when I really sat down and I updated this book to match the new exam content outline. But we didn't really know what you really needed to know to pass this new exam. And then no one knew that this exam would have came out with 50% more Agile. Well, you know what? 60% tons of Agile question. That part we didn't know. So yeah, I do say that in the study guide, but you don't need to memorize them. Just understand them. I will update this guide. I'm going to push out an update to it in a few more weeks. It takes long to go through Amazon and editors and all those types of things. But no, you do not need to do. What should we do before? Good question here. What should I do the day before the test? Get a good night's sleep. That is your most important thing to do the day before the exam. I don't think that you guys should be doing a lot of studying the day before. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm studying, if I have too much, like if it's a big exam and I have a lot of things that still need to study, I'm not going to do it, because what happens is I'm going to forget it. You're so anxious the day before. I think that, studying the day before is not going to help much. So if you're thinking, should I study? No. I think get a good night's sleep. Remember something. There's not a lot of stuff to memorize anymore. You go back, you took this PMP exam 5 years ago, there was tons of stuff to memorize. You had to know a lot of formulas. You had to know all your processes, a lot of your ITTOs. Now, no. Once you understand it, I think you'll be fine. You know what? William asked me, can I briefly review the TCPI formula really quick? The TCPI formula 2 complete performance index is the formula. 2 complete performance index is a formula that basically means it's like a percentage that says how much effort is needed to finish the project to match that budget. So, for example, if you're doing TCPI, you're basically going to say if the TCPI is calculated at 100%, means if you keep working at 100%, you'll be able to hit that particular budget with just doing 100% of the work. The formula shouldn't be too complex, but you have to remember it's just the level of effort. All right. Track guy is asking me a question. If you prefer to take a center, what is the wait time to get into the testing centers? Track guy, good question. How long does it take to get exam? The answer is it depends on where you live. If you live in a big city like New York City, or you live in maybe rural areas, the rural areas, you know what, you may be able to get more dates. But big cities, a lot of people, harder to get dates. You may have to wait a week, 2 weeks. You know, just for reference purposes, my CISSP students, I'm not sure if you guys know, I'm a big CISSP teacher also. CISSP security management stuff. And in San Francisco, for example, Los Angeles, New York City, my CISSP students were waiting a month to 2 months to get an exam date. At a Pearson VUE Center. So take that as a reference. It might be harder. I really recommend for you just to do the test online. That's what I recommend for you guys to do. Take the test online. It's your own space. It's your own comfort. You know, when you sit down to do an exam, you want it to have your temperature. You want it to have your seating position, your monitor, your desk, versus going to a testing center where the chairs are uncomfortable and the screen is too small. And the room is really, really cold in those testing centers. That, I can tell you guys, they make those rooms cold. So I think the testing center in general is just uncomfortable to be there. Just increases your stress factor. So I would always take the test from home. If you are scoring less than 70% on mock exams, I would recommend for you guys to review the video. You're missing some type of concept there. There's something that's missing. You're missing some kind of concept. I mean, your score is not bad, but if you're not getting up to 80%, you know, try to study some more. Somebody says, have I talked to someone who cleared the exam recently? I heard the complexity is increasing. No, I spoke to someone literally a couple hours ago, one of our students here that took the class, passed the exam, and she said it was fine. There's a lot of Agile questions, and she thanked me for the courseware. So no, I don't think it's getting any harder. You see, I was on Reddit. Here's an interesting story for you guys. I was on Reddit earlier, a few minutes before I started this, and there's a post on Reddit right now where somebody's asking a question: is the exam getting easier, and is that going to devalue the certification? I would like to respond to that, but the moderators of that forum, the PMP forum, says I can't. They banned my account because supposedly whatever I post is a promotion. Because sometimes I might post a link to a video I did and they didn't like that, so I can't respond to it. But to get to your question here, the exam did get easier, but it's not because PMI is making it easier. It's including Agile. Agile itself is an easy concept. Memorizing 49 processes and knowing PMBOK methodology, that was difficult. If you understand Agile concepts are very easy. Agile concepts being all inclusive, working with a team, building things in increments. And because the exam includes a lot of Agile content, it makes it easier. If you guys remember that video I did where I said it's easier, it's not it's not because it got easier because PMI is making it easier. It's because of the inclusion of Agile. Agile itself is a very easy concept. You watch 20 plus already, you feel like you know me. Well, I hear you, you know. Sometimes that happens. Sometimes I watch other people's videos. They started including calculations. Once in a while, I always tell my students, know your calculations. It's not like they wouldn't include. You may get a formula or two on your exam. This is true. What formulas are important? You got to know your main EVM formulas, right? You got to know things. First of all, there's a formula chart in the book. If not, any study guide should have a formula chart that you should be looking up. The PMBOK itself also has a formula chart that you should know for your EVM, for your exam. At no point did I ever tell students you don't need to know your formulas. You still need to know your formulas. So things like PV, EV, AC, CPIs. So there's quite a lot of these formulas that you guys are going to need to know. There's about 13 or 14 of these EVM formulas. I can't remember them out of my head right now, but there's a good set of these formulas that you should be reviewing. Let's see here. Have my exam in 2 weeks. Do I need to read the Agile practice guide and watch your Agile videos on YouTube? Taking a few practice exam. Oh, you watch my Agile videos on Udemy, and I've taken a few practice exam. You know what? Just go through the Agile. You know what? I'm really recommending to go through the Agile practice guide. The reason, because it's a really small book. If you watch my videos on YouTube, on Udemy, you know I covered Agile inside out there. So you should review it. It's a really small book. It's not a very large book, and you can really go through it quick. Especially if you watch the videos already, you know a lot about Agile. So you should go through it just to make sure you cover all your bases there. Do we need to worry about critical path? I would say yes. I've had a few students that did have critical path questions, so make sure you do it. I do have a critical path tonight, and I got I got a big formula drag and drop coming up tonight. So stay with me for that as we do questions. All right. Are ITTOs important to remember? No. Just understand what they are. You go through study guide, you go through PMBOK, you go through anybody's study guide, you see the ITTOs, you just read it. Understand, okay, that's what that is. Don't memorize them. Can you comment on the PMP Agile Transition course? This is interesting. Somebody's asking me, can you comment on the PMP Agile Transition course PMI issued on January 22nd for those planning to take the exam before April? And the answer is I can't, because I've never seen the class. I don't know how good this class was or what PMI was doing with this particular course. So I don't know. I would like to, but I really haven't seen it yet. I have a question about types of contracts. Seems a bit confusing. Different types of contract. You have to be more like, I don't know. You have to tell me what are you confused about? What type of contracts are you confused about? So see if you can rephrase that question. Give me a particular type of contract you're confused about. I'll quickly go over it. Any suggestion how better to approach the book and create the best? You know what? What you need to do is a lot of people. So when I wrote the book and I created the video course that goes with it, remember the video course was just big. It's 35 hours. There's no way I could fit that in the book. People are watching the videos and then following up with the book. That's how most people are doing it. You can also just watch the video. You can read the book first and follow up with the videos. There's two ways to approach that. Take whichever one you like. If you prefer to watch videos, then watch videos first. Then follow up with the book. It's a good cram or practice to it. All right. Try again. All right. So, do you suggest taking the PMI ACP exam after your PMP? It was the same price. I would suggest, you know what? I just did a video on that yesterday. Just released a video on that yesterday where I talked about, is PMI ACP dead? You guys can check that out. And yeah, I mean, if you want to get credits and PMI ACP looks good, I think it's a good Agile certification to get. I have a PMP. I have a PMI ACP. I think it's good. And you know what? You already have the knowledge. So if you have the extra funds, you got the extra time, go do it. It's not a hard certification. It's a pretty easy one. A lot of people seem to be doing that. And that's why in the video I said I hope PMI, to spoil that video, I did say I hope PMI Don't get rid of PMI ACP. This person said they got 70% on my mock exams. They got 3 weeks left. Yes, 3 weeks is a lot of time, right? So if you're getting 70% of my mock exam, you should be just fine. Because you got 3 weeks. 3 weeks is a long time. So yes, you'll have a lot of time. Will future study guides be divided under the new domain and tasks? I think the future study guides will be divided by the new PMBOK guide. I haven't seen PMBOK 7 yet. I know some people had copies of it and they talked about it, but I personally haven't seen it yet. How will I write the new book? I don't know yet. I know this one works though. That I don't know. A lot of people pass with this. All right, I'm confused, Andrew. The practice questions and drag and drops keeps asking what process this belongs in. I don't know the 49 processes and where they are and how to answer the question. A lot of the drag and drops that you're getting will actually put them in order or put the process in order. I don't think you need to go memorize the entire chart, but you should understand that this process is part of this knowledge area or it's part of this process group. But I don't think you need to go. When I say memorize, and I'm talking like memorizing all the ITTOs and stuff. Is it enough to pass PMP after watching your Agile videos on Udemy? Well, no, you need to watch the PMP videos to pass the PMP, not the Agile alone. PMP is not just Agile. All right. What is the best method to pick the best answer in just 1 minute of a scenario question? I don't know if there's a best method on that. I think you have to read the question carefully, apply the PMP mindset, and then select your best answer. I don't think there's a best method. If you're looking for one method, there's no one method to any sets of question. All right, hold up. What other questions do we have here? If you scored 53%, then you review the question, you scored 90%. That's good. Your score did go up, but you should do more practice tests because now you know the questions and the answers. So that's why your score probably went up significantly, almost doubling 53 to 90. You want to make sure you keep doing more practice tests. Get more practice exams. Oh, Gloria, you're asking me a really long question, Gloria. Gloria says, can you differentiate between Scrum, XP, Kanban, Scrumban, and Crystal? I'm going to give you a really quick answer to that because that requires hours, maybe a few hours of teaching. Gloria, I am not sure who you're training with or who's your providers, but in my course, I do cover all of those. But whoever you're taking your training with, your 35 hours, they should have reviewed that. But really quickly, Scrum, let's just go over this really quickly. Scrum and XP are very, very similar. You interchange a lot of the terminology. Scrum and XP is building things in increments, just basically like all of them. And they have iterations, and Scrum calls them sprints. That's where they build the work. Kanban is using a quote-unquote sign. Kanban is another word for signboard. It's using a board to track the work in progress and limit the work in progress. Scrumban, I don't know if your exam is going to get into that. You see, so Scrumban is combining Scrum with a Kanban board. Crystal development is another method, not so popular for your exam. I haven't heard about anybody having that. Most of the questions on the exam are basically Scrum, and Kanban is mostly what I think they're going to ask you on. When it comes to a question here, do you have any tips to avoid running out of time during the exam? Tips for running out of time. So one of the things that you have to watch the clock. You have to watch, remember, you got this 4 hours, 230 minutes, about 4 hours. You're going to have breaks. You're going to have a break at 60, question number 60, you get a 10-minute break. Then you get another 60 question, you get another 10-minute break. And then you get the final 60, and that's the 180 and the 230 minutes. You have to watch the clock. So you should know at what interval I should be finished. So for example, if you break up the 4 hours into 3 sections, if you divide that by 3, and then you have to watch the clock based on that 3 hours. So I can't do the math right now, but what is 4 hours divided by 3? What is that? 1 hour and something, 1 hour 15 minutes or something, 1 hour 20 minutes or so. So you should know, okay, then we have, okay, about 1 hour and 20 minutes, I should finish the first 60. Another 1 hour and 20 minutes, I should finish the next 60. Another 1 hour and 20 minutes, I should finish. So if the exam timer is clicking down and you see 2 hours has passed and you're not finished up at least up to 90 questions and you see you got 2 hours left on the clock, you got a problem. If you're like at question 60 and you see, okay, there's 2 hours left on the clock, well, that's not good, right? You got to be at least at question 90 by that 2 hour mark because, you got 4 hours to do it. So you got to watch the clock. You got to speed it up. But you don't want to start out the exam and go too slow or go too fast. So watch how you're doing in the first couple of questions. It'll give you a good example how fast you're working through it. That's why a lot of people do a lot of practice questions. The more practice questions, the more you can adjust your time. Does my testing center? No, we do not take exams. That's only at Pearson VUE centers. No, you don't need to memorize the 49 process groups. Understand them. If you understand them, I think you'll be able to do those as well. All right, Cam says, I love your EOC section on your Udemy course. Can you explain the domain and task? Where I explain. It's better than reading the outline PDF. Yes. Okay, so somebody's asking me, Chris is asking me, what is the difference between cost reimbursable and time and material? So cost reimburse, this is a question on contracts, all right? Cost reimbursable and time and material. So time and material is the worst contract for a buyer. Time and material is when I pay a painter. If you guys took my Udemy course, I talk a lot about painting. So time and material is when you hire a painter and you pay the painter per hour and you buy the paint. You take on the most risk. As a buyer, you're taking on the most risk because if the guy spends too long doing the job, you're going to be paying like crazy. And if he wastes his paint, you're still paying like crazy. There's a lot of risk to the buyer, but no risk to the seller in time and material. Cost reimbursable. These are popular contracts. In fact, I'm renovating my house, a small renovation in a small room, and I'm doing cost reimbursable. So cost reimbursable is there's a flat fee, generally speaking, cost plus fixed fee. There's a fixed fee, and then I buy all the materials. So I'm purchasing all the materials that the contractor is using. This includes sheetrock and paint and carpet and patterns and whatnot. I'm going to pay for it. And then I'm just giving them a flat fee for their profit. So there's a little risk here because I take on risk because my cost is ceiling high. My cost is unknown. They take on less risk, but they know the profit they're going to get. But they have a little bit of risk too because if the contractor said he's going to be done in a week and then he takes 2 weeks, he still has a little bit of risk left over. So those are going to be the difference between those two. All right. The 4 mock exam is different. I don't know what they're asking me here. Are the mock exam based on the new format? Yes, there are Agile questions in there. One of the things that if you're going through the videos, you guys should be looking at the mindset section. In the book too, please go over that section. A lot of people tell me that's really helpful. Do we need to memorize? No, you don't. Okay, somebody says here, so this is a formula. The point of total assumption was a formula that was covered in, I've noticed it in other study guides. And this is a question I get, do we need to know the point of total assumption? So my first study guide, PMP 5th edition, I had it. I took it out. I mean, the point of total assumption was a formula that I haven't seen or heard about on a PMP test since PMP 5. So the answer to that question is no, you do not need to know that. Hamad asks me, what is the percentage of Agile questions? I'm hearing from 50% to 70%. Pretty large. Let's just say a lot. Lots of Agile questions. Can you, person asks, can I use your PMP Udemy course for PMI ACP PDUs? Yes, you could. How do the breaks work when testing from home? So okay, you know what? Let me explain something about the breaks. So when the 60 question is up, you're going to get an optional break. First of all, the breaks are optional, but you should take them. So when the break comes up, it's going to come and say, okay, you finished 60 questions. Would you like to take a break? When you say yes, and you take your break, it's a 10-minute break, you can leave the room and come back. You can step out to the restroom or something. But you cannot go back to the previous question. When you start the exam now, it's going to start at question 61. But you can't go back to the first 60 sets. You got to keep that in mind. All right, that's I'm not sure if that's mentioned a lot, but once you take that break, you can't go back to the original. It's not like you can do 60 questions, take a break, and then go outside, come back, get something to eat, do some exercise or something, and then come back in the room and then go back to your previous questions. Maybe you thought of something that can change an answer. You cannot do that. All right, so keep that in mind. When you do breaks happen, you're given exam. They're given 10-minute breaks. Somebody asked me that. When you take the exam in a testing center, they will, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but I think if you take it in a testing center, they will give you pen and paper. Somebody's asking me, if I take the exam in a testing center, will they give me pen and paper, or do I still have to use a virtual whiteboard? I think they give you pen and paper. A calculator is always built into the exam engine. It's been like that. Somebody says here, a tornado diagram is used for quantitative risk analysis. Correct. All right. How effective is that as an answer? I don't know. You got to tell me the question. How effective is a tornado diagram? Not all. It depends on the question. How much should we know about Six Sigma? Not a lot. I haven't heard of Six Sigma being on people's exam for a while. I barely mention it in the study guide because it just really ever shows up on people's exam. Is your questions in these live videos enough to take the exam? You should do a lot more questions, not just 10 questions I do every week. I mean, this is what, the 4th week I'm doing this? 5 weeks. I mean, we only have 50 questions here. So you need to do a lot more questions. All right. Is there a cheat sheet with all the calculations that may be needed for everything on the exam? Yes. If you have the book, Mike, in here, I have the cheat sheet with all the formulas you need to know. At the back of the last chapter, it says things to memorize. Know those formulas. Do they show how you're doing on the exam? No. They just tell you whether you pass or fail at the end. Not they're not going to tell you, oh, you're doing well or you're not doing well. All right, you have to wait till you finish the exam, you click end. All right, very good. Okay, guys, any more questions? Anybody? All right, I think I got everybody's questions there. Or at least I try to answer everybody's question. By the way, if you ask me a question and I skip it, maybe because there's so many questions coming down the feed, ask me again, all right? Don't feel bad asking me again. All right, when we use scatter diagram, Pareto chart, and control chart, Ahmed, that's a big question, Ahmed. Scatter diagram shows you when trends are forming. These are all quality tools, by the way. Scatter diagrams is when you plot points on a graph and he showed you where trends are starting to form. Pareto chart shows you the 80-20 rule, where the majority of things comes from the least amount of things. So for example, what's causing the most defects? There could be 100 reasons that's causing defects on your product, but maybe only 20 of those things is what's causing the most of the defects. Control chart tells you whether a process is in control. A control chart is going to tell you, we need to go out and inspect that process before it does return a defect. All right, hopefully that helps there, man. That's a big question. How many tests should you recommend? I recommend from 1,000 to 1,500 practice questions. I've always said at least do 1,000 practice questions. Can you please tell me how to pick the keywords from the question and ask in the exam? You know what, Sunil? Good question. When we go over these practice, I'm not sure, Sunil, if you looked at the previous videos where I go over these things in the previous live streams. I started doing these live streams because in the live class when we're teaching it, we do go over practice questions, or at least I go over practice questions with them, so they see how I'm answering the questions. And people gain a lot from that. So I started doing it with all my students because I don't get a chance to meet my Udemy students or my book students. So these live streams are meant for that. So watch me do the questions and you can see how best to do it. You see I circle things or I highlight things. You'll see that. So watch these videos with me or stay with me on this. All right. And hey, you know what, Sunil? It's on YouTube. It's absolutely free. Anyone can watch. So there's no reason not to do it. Can we register for your tutor and exam together? Can we register for your tutor and exam together? I don't know. Hey, you can register for your exam. You can register for a class. Can I have videos of Agile Practice Guide? Can I have videos of Agile Practice Guide? My Agile videos in the Udemy class, I think you have that. Covers all the Agile concepts. Neha is asking me a pretty good question. Do we need to know the MBTI personalities for the exam? Keep an eye on my YouTube channel. I'm going to do a video on that. MBTI personality is how you would judge people's personality. No, you don't need to know DSDM. That's an Agile method. You don't need to know that. But the personalities, I think so, I've had a few people tell me that stuff. Not a lot. Just one student mentioned it to me. I'll probably do a YouTube video on it coming up soon. I have to see more people asking me. I mean, if you know something, maybe tell me. Have you heard a lot of people having questions on that? I don't know. But I don't cover that. I didn't cover that at all. It means nowhere in the exam objectives. But, if it is, we'll definitely review it. Do they show how many minutes that is remaining during your exam? Yes. If you take the exam, there's a counter that's clicking down. What would a trend in mock exam will show that a student is ready? Once you can start getting 80% on mock exams, my own and other people's, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. When you're taking the exam, do they show you how you're doing? Is there a counter? No, it doesn't tell you. But you got to wait to the end. They tell you whether you pass or you fail at the end. They tell you how you do in each of the groups, each of the processes, like business domain, you did above target. Processes, you did above target, right? All right, very good, guys. All right, hopefully we got everyone's question. I see we got a lot more viewers joining us now. All right, guys, let us do some practice questions. Tonight, I got some good practice questions. We got a big drag and drop. We're talking about formulas here. I got a good drag and drop formulas for you guys to do. So many audio equipment I have in here. God knows. Where's all the stuff? All right, guys, let's take a look at some practice questions that we have. All right, so once again, I'm going to pull up the question. I'll read the question. You guys put the answers in the box. Then I'll go over it, and we will answer the question. All right, so here we go, guys, with the first question of the night. Actually, you know what? Hold on. Let me just move this over here. All right, very good. All right, so let's go with the first question of the night. He's asking me a question here. Links to the videos and the Agile also need more. All right. Okay, guys, question number 1. You guys go ahead and put the answer in the box here. Let's see what you guys got. Practice question 1. A project started off small and then grew to be larger than expected. The single sponsor is now being replaced by a steering committee. The steering committee will have 5 members. How should the project manager handle the situation? Change your communication methodology to account for the new stakeholder structure. Stick to the original plan with the understanding that the stakeholders group now includes the steering committee members. Plan a low-key preliminary meeting with the new steering committee and the team, but continue to follow the original project plan. Be sure that the new steering committee members receive all current status reports. All right, what did you guys get? All right, I see that you guys have a lot of A's. Some people just got D, some people just got B. All right, we got a lot of A's, B's. All right, guys, the answer here. So somebody had here, one of you guys had asked me a question earlier about how do you identify the keywords in the answers? Well, so one of the things that we have to do is we have to be able to know the PMI mindset. Now, what I mean by the mindset is you have to be able to think like a good project manager. So if you're going through the book, you're doing the videos, anything you're doing like that, just look at the mindset section. You have to be able to take action. You have to be, but not take action against things without doing your research. In this particular question, you got to go here. What do you think is the best answer? So it says here, the team started off. The team here, the sponsor started off, it grew from smaller to larger. So that means you're getting more people. What's the best thing the project manager can do? Well, since there's more stakeholders, the best thing to do is to modify your communication method to meet those new stakeholders that are on your project. If you stick to the original plan, well, you're not addressing the problem in this question. Anything that you stick in, that you continuing to follow the original plan is not good, because now you're staying to what may not work. There's 5 new people. There's a whole new steering committee. Be sure that be sure that the new steering committee receive all status reports. I think you really want to analyze their communication requirements. All right, so in this one here, you're doing your analysis, you're updating your plan, you're going to try to address the problem. One of the things you have to remember when doing this exam is when they ask you a question, here's a quick tip. When they ask you a question on this exam, and there is a choice where you say, well, that really doesn't do anything at all, then that's never the answer. They will never ask you a question where they want you to choose an answer of doing nothing, right? Like B does absolutely nothing. B is like, okay, stick to the original plan with the understanding that it just, if you're sticking to the original plan, then there's no point in asking this question. So a little tip there to keep in mind. I know I do that when I write questions also to try to trick you guys too, and PMI loves doing that too. All right, let's go to question number 2. Question number 2. During a project kickoff call, a key stakeholder expresses concern and worry regarding the complexity of the deliverables. He is concerned the deliverables will fail to meet the requirements. How should the project manager do first to handle the situation? See, what should the project manager do first to handle the situation, guys? Collaborate with the sponsor with the resources concerned, and if necessary, modify the project charter. Document the concerns and schedule a review in the future. Perform a risk assessment to identify threats. Assess the concerns using a feasibility study. All right, what should we be doing here? So it says, what should we do really, right? Should say what, not how. Let me to review my questions there. But what should the project manager do first to handle the situation? What do you guys got? Collaborate with the sponsor about the resources concerns. If necessary, modify the charter. All right, so we got some D's here. All right, you guys got some D's. Anybody have B's, C's, A's? All right, we got a few A's, got a few D's. All right, so the answer here. We got a lot of D's now, a lot of D's, a lot of A's. All right, nobody's got C. Okay, we do have a C. Okay, somebody's got a C. From a risk assessment to identify the threat. A key stakeholder. We got some B's, C's. All right, so let's go through this particular one here, guys. All right, so let's see what the question is all about. A key stakeholder. So, yeah, this is a common type of question that you're going to see on your exam when they're going to talk about somebody has some kind of concern that you're worried about, and you got to address their concern. He is concerned the deliverables will fail to meet the requirements of the project manager. So if somebody's concerned about something, you really got to analyze. Remember, tip for your exam, you really have to analyze what the concern is. First of all, I mentioned this in the previous live streams that we did. Never take actions on a concern, never take action on a rumor, just like that. You want to analyze before taking some kind of action. When people have an issue or when something comes up that's bad, the first thing the project manager should always do is assess the situation. So that's always like the choice you want to go with. So A says, collaborate with a sponsor about the resource concern and if necessary, modify the project charter. So I'm not sure why you're collaborating with the sponsor about this person's concern. Before going to the sponsor, and you have to remember for your exam, before approaching the sponsor especially, you should assess it yourself. Know your facts before going to people. B, document the concern and schedule a review. Yeah, never ever on your exam push things out. Remember my words tonight. You're taking your real exam. You come to a choice, and it's like push things out. That is never the answer to ever choose. Get rid of that. No project manager should be pushing things out. And, remember this. You got to keep that in mind. C, perform a risk assessment to identify threats. So this one sounds okay, right? Perform a risk assessment. But what exactly are the threats? To identify threats. He's just worried the complexity of it. We're not too sure what those threats are. During a project kickoff call, a key stakeholder, so this person is telling you about, hey, you know what, something is going to go wrong, it's deliverable. Assess the concern using a feasibility study. So the feasibility study, so somebody says, isn't it just done initiate? No, you can do a feasibility study anytime in the project. It's one of the tools used in initiate and sure, but you can use it throughout the project. Do the feasibility, say why, and this is going to help you evaluate what those concerns are. So that makes this one the best answer. So, you know what? Somebody asked me a question. There isn't a feasibility study in the, yes, but you could use it throughout the project. The kickoff. So there's, most of the time, when people say kickoff meetings, if you go through PMP, kickoff meetings could be something that's done before the project executes, or it could be if it's a big project before it's planned. So there could be two kickoff meetings. Most of the time, it's generally right before the project executes. You start building those deliverables. All right. Satish, anything in the future is never an answer. If you see that choice, don't select that. All right, guys, practice question number 3. One of the key stakeholders expresses concern about unplanned events potentially impacting the schedule for your new software development project. However, the project team is unconcerned. How should the project manager handle the situation? A, request more funding from for project funding from the project sponsor. Plan a meeting with the team, team leads to assess the possible impact of unplanned risks. C, identify project risks and assess those risks. D, continue the project as planned. Remember, the extra funds must be requested at a later point. All right, let us go to this, guys. Let's take a look. What answer did you guys get? What answer did you guys get? All right, we got a bunch of C's. Got a bunch of C's here. Huh? All right, a lot of C's, a lot of B's. Let's see what we got here, guys. All right, the answer is C. All right, so a lot of you guys got this one too. Now, this one says unplanned events. You know, if you guys remember the definition of risk in PMBOK itself, a risk is an event, a potential event that can impact one or more project objectives, whether it's positive or negative. So, you know, something that's unplanned, an unplanned event, it really is a risk. If you read into that, you would have known, okay, they're really talking about a risk here. Unplanned events potentially impacting the schedule. So they're talking about risks that can impact that schedule. How should you, but the team for some reason is unconcerned, right? So the team is like, we're not concerned about that. But you as a good project manager, what should you be doing? Request more funding. You can't just go and ask for money if you haven't actually done any assessment yet. We don't even know how much to ask. Plan a meeting with the team leads to assess the possible impact of these risks. I think you need to identify what these risks are, because the question doesn't say what the risks are first, and assess those. And maybe you do C then B. Continue the project. Yeah, that's the one I told you guys. You're just pushing things off. That means you're not taking action here. You want to be proactive. All right, guys, very good. Let's go to question number 4. How should the project manager obtain appropriate sign-off on the acceptance of the project deliverables for a large project that includes team members from several countries and is close to completion? So this was an interesting question, right? You got team members from all over. You got to get a sign-off. A, ask the project sponsor to sign off. B, ask the team for a sign-off. C, ask senior management. D, ask the 4 managers from the 4 countries to sign off. Answer, guys. What do you guys think this one is? A short question. Ask the team for a sign-off. Ask the project sponsor for a sign-off. Should project manager sign off on acceptance of the deliverables? So the best answer here is going to be, okay, a lot of you guys got A. Seems to be the going choice here. All right, A is correct. Okay, so first of all, really quickly, for you guys, you should never ask the team for a sign-off. The team should not be the one accepting the deliverables. The team builds the deliverables. They can't build it and accept it. It means they could build whatever they like and they're going to accept it. Out of question. That really leaves 3 choices here. The sponsor, senior management, or the 4 managers. We're not too sure what D is, right? We're not sure what the 4 managers. No. Who provides the resources to the project, this project sponsor? That means that they probably gave you most of the requirements. The answer here is A. Best person to get the sign off is the project sponsor. This is also mentioned a lot in PMBOK too. All right, here we go, guys. Question 5. A project has the following features. The quality management plan in place states that all deliverables must be reviewed 1.5 weeks prior to the deadline at a minimum. So far, 6 deliverables have failed this condition. How should the project manager handle this circumstance? A, meet with the project sponsor to get their input. B, utilize a cause and effect diagram for root cause analysis. Alter the quality management plan to conform to the project practices. And D, request an internal audit. All right. Somebody asked me earlier, what's a sign off? A sign off is acceptance. When they sign off, they're basically giving you an acceptance. Okay, what answer did you guys get? All right. Okay, so let's take a look at this here. In this particular one, you'll notice that they're telling you there's some kind of problem. There's some kind of issue that you're having. And these deliverables that are not meeting the condition. And one of the themes that you should have gotten out tonight was what's happening in a lot of these questions that I made tonight was there's some kind of problem. And a project manager has to do something about the problem. And you're going to keep seeing this over and over is your thing to do is to find out the root cause of those problems. Like you can't just you don't fix a problem if you haven't analyzed the problem. That's what you should get out tonight. As you go, and this is a theme you're going to keep on your exam. Assess the situation, know the root cause of your issues, and then fix it. You should, when this video is done, you can go back and watch the video again, and you'll see that as the theme throughout these questions. Okay, next question, guys. A company hopes to reduce costs by installing solar panels. Specific energy efficient projects qualify for subsidies from local government. Unfortunately, after the project starts, you realize the solar panels may not be a qualified project. How should the project manager handle the situation? Assess how this may impact the cost reductions of the organization. Be sure the issue log is updated. Utilize the contingency reserve. Send a change request. All right, what answer did you guys get? All right, what answer did you guys get? All right, we got, be sure the issue log is updated. So you guys saying how would you handle that? Assess how this may impact the cost reductions of the organization. And we got some A's. We got a lot of A's. A lot of A's. Got some D's. A's and D's and B's. All right, very good. And the answer here, guys, is going to be a lot of A's here. Okay, so the answer here is A. Let's go through this. So this goes back to the theme of tonight. I'm telling you guys, you need to make sure that you assess the situations. Don't just leave it alone. So even though B may seem like a decent answer, just update, be sure the issue log is updated. I don't like that part of just be sure it's updated. Be sure the issue log is updated. You want to address the situation, hit the situation out. Just don't leave it alone. But maybe just adding it to the issue log may not take any action against it. Utilize a contingency reserve. Before you start doing that, you need to realize, how was this going to impact the project? Send a change request. You just don't send a change request for what? We need to assess that before we understand what those change requests are. Question number 7. All right, this one you got to choose 2. All right, this one you got to choose 2. An organization has decided to move from traditional project management to a hybrid method. Most projects will start with an agile approach and end with a traditional approach. Where will the deliverables be reviewed by the customers? Choose 2. Validate scope, plan scope management, control scope, sprint plan and meetings, or sprint review meetings. In this one, we have to choose 2. All right. What answer did you guys get? What answer did you guys get? Where are the deliverables reviewed on a traditional project and an agile project? That's the tip there This one is way too easy. You guys everybody's getting this one, I think. All right, this one just seems way too easy for you guys. Gotta remember to make this thing harder. Validate scope is a traditional process you follow in PMBOK. This is where the customers, the organizations, the sponsor, basically whoever in that company gives you those acceptances, the formal acceptance of those deliverables. The output is accepted deliverable. The sprint review meeting is when the customers comes in and review the deliverable or the product that got made in the previous sprint. Making the answer A and E. You don't review anything in plan scope management. Controlled scope is actually about keeping the project on scope. Validate scope is to check the work itself. Sprint planning meeting is what the team will do, is where the team will determine what will get done in the next sprint. Question number 8. An organization has recently moved to Agile project management, and the team is not sure how to estimate the amount of work they can get done in the next sprint. What should the project manager do to help the team? A. Conduct training sessions about team velocity. Research and acquire training for the team about team velocity. Ask the sponsor to conduct the team training. Hire a new team that knows Agile methods. All right, answer, guys. Answer. All right, so we got B's, we got a few A's, we got some A's, we got some B's, A's and B's. All right. A's and B's, lots of A's. We got like a 50-50 split on the A's and the B's here. And the answer here is going to be B. Now, you learn you have to get the team the correct training, right? You guys know that. You got to get the right training for your team. Now, okay, so that really brings it to A and B. You see this part here that says conduct training session about team velocity? That's the thing. You see, conductor, yes, but it sounds like you're the one doing it. The research, the best one is to research and acquire training for the team about the velocity. So these two answers are very similar. So this is the part here about conducting a session. You know, the thing is, you shouldn't be the one doing that. The best thing is for you to research, because you may not be an expert on Agile project management methods. You're managing the projects, yes, but that doesn't make you the expert on it. Research what training is needed. Research what the team wants. A and B are very similar answers, but just that add in there, research, means you're doing your assessment. Remember this whole thing, doing your assessment. And then you're acquiring the right training for the team. So B is just a better answer. B is a better answer than A. Andrew said in the Udemy Scrum Master will want to teach. I said in there, you need to be an Agile advocate and you need to push it on to people. But in this question, right, in part of Agile is you want to be the Agile advocate. You want to train people in Agile. You want to show them that Agile is the best thing going. And that way they're going to love it too. And they should. But in this questionnaire, conduct the training sessions, you really come down to two choices. You can be doing the training sessions yourself, or would you like to research and acquire the right training for them? I think when it comes to managing a team, in this scenario, B is just a better answer than A. A is not wrong, it's just, hey, B is better. All right, so last week, somebody asked me, I think a few students asked me, are we going to get critical path questions? The new exam, I don't think are giving you complex critical path questions. Here's a critical path. This is a hotspot question. Click on the activity that is not on the critical path. So if you know how to calculate a critical path, this is actually very easy and very quick. All right, 7 no jokes says, 7 no joke 7 says, I would have answered B, but yeah, you are teaching, but you know what? You're acquiring the right training. It's still better answer there. All right. What have you guys got? All right, so I see you guys have studied your critical path correctly. So this is one of these hotspot questions where you got to like click on it to see to answer the question. All right, so obviously here the answer. See if you know critical path. The critical path here is the longest path. There's only two paths on this diagram. It's A, B, C, E. So what is the critical path here? So if we add them up, there's two paths here. There's A, B, C, and E, and then there's A, B, D, and E. So this one, 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 9. No, 2 plus 3 is 5 plus 4 is 9. This is 12. A and B is 5 plus 5 is 10. This is 13. So this here is the critical path. So the one that's not on the critical path is C. Okay, very good, guys. Let's do one drag and drop, and then we are good. Let's take a look. One drag and drop. All right, so this here is pretty self-explanatory. No, not the process groups. Okay, so in this one, you're dragging over. So this is something that people had asked me earlier. Are we going to have... So it seems like a lot of questions on the exam is going to be with the formulas. You don't really need to calculate them so much, but you do need to know the meaning of them. So this drag and drop makes you know all the meaning of your formulas. Take a minute, see if you guys can get it. Take a minute, see if you guys can get this. All right, so what we're doing is we're just dragging these over, right? We're just going to drag them here or here or here or here somewhere. So you just got to drag those over there. All right, you guys take a minute, see if you can answer this one. All right, see what you guys got. All right, a lot of you guys got the same answer. It seems like you guys are mastering your EVM here. Thought I was going to get a couple of you guys, but it seems like everybody's got this one correct. I really thought I was going to get a bunch of you guys. Maybe you guys did not study your EVM, but it seems like you guys actually did. All right, let's go over this, guys. The amount of money you've already spent, so if that is the actual cost, the AC represents the money you've already spent on your project. Remember, AC is not a formula on your test. This is generally a given number. The amount of money worth of work, keyword, should have been done on the project. So this is PV, or plan value. So plan value really is this. That's just its definition. It's just the amount. That number tells you, okay, we should have spent this much at this time worth of work. The rate of how we are spending to actually earning on the project. The rate of how we are spending money, this really is going to be the CPI. So the CPI, if you guys remember for your exam, hopefully you guys are doing some studying. CPI and SPI are one of the two most famous formulas they're going to cover on your exam. CPI, remember, a CPI of 1 is good. Anything under 1, no good. So for example, if the CPI says is 0.6. Well, you know what? Think of it as 1 being 100%. So if it's 1, you're like, 1 is 100%, you're right on budget. But if it's 0.6, you know what? You're 40% over your budget. If it's 1.2, you're 20% under your budget. So you want that CPI to be 1. Anything under 1, no good. Anything over 1 is good. The original budget is just a BAC, right? Just the budget at completion. And then obviously this left the CV, the difference. So you know difference, this was an easy one, right? Because the difference between the work done and the money spent, so this is just CV, because this has the word variance in it. All right, how many of you guys can remember the formulas out of your head, guys. How many of you guys remember the formula for PV? PV is equal to, did you remember it? BAC. Can you guys, who remember the formulas? Who knows these formulas? PV, anybody knows? PV is equal to the BAC times percentage. Anybody knows? Who knows it? Who knows their formulas out of their heads here? What's the formula for CPI? So just a big hint: BAC and CV, BAC and AC ain't got no formulas, right? So eliminate those. PV, BAC times plan percent complete. That is correct, right? Very good. CPI. How about CPI? You guys remember CPI? I had given you guys a bunch of tips on this, right? So watch the tips video. There's also a bunch of, on this YouTube channel, I had put all my EVM videos where I give you guys the tips and I did some examples with you. So, if you're not subscribed to any of my classes or anything, you can still watch those videos on YouTube. I go back last year or so, we put them up. I think they were pretty good. CPI is equal. So if you remember, CV, CPI, SV, and SPI all starts with EV. So it's EV minus, and then this is cost minus the actual cost. CV is going to be the same thing as CPI. Except the I there. If you guys remember a tip I gave you, the I is actually for division. The V is variance, is minus. So it's EV minus AC. All right. Just testing your knowledge. If you guys know your formulas, all right, very good. You guys know your formulas out of your heads. And all right, guys. So that was the end of the questions section. Okay, guys. Hopefully you guys had some fun tonight. Hopefully I answered enough of you guys' questions. By the way, can you guys like the video? Did you guys click that like button yet? Come on, we got 35. Every week I have to tell you guys this. We only got 35 likes. Come on, guys. We could do better than that. All right. Some of you guys did know your formulas very well. Either the budget or the new rates. I'm not sure. Somebody, Neha is asking me to do the two formulas. Just know the one book is fine. Yes, you guys need to like the videos. Yes, we do, of course. All right, so we got, this week we got 85 folks attended. Come on, guys, we got to get this number up. You guys got to tell more people that, remember, the more people that joins us, the more questions, maybe you guys can learn from the new questions, the better. Remember, they don't have to be a student of mine. You don't have to be in any of my classes. You don't have to take a class, a TIA or nothing. Just join the stream. I'll answer anybody's question. So you know what? Nina is asking me another question here. Nina says, how hard are these practice questions compared with the real tests? So these questions that I do in the stream are basically what, so we are, at Technical Institute of America, we are a PMI authorized training center. And there are, or they call them ATPs, Authorized Training Center. And they give us these clone questions. So we take the clone questions and I basically reword them and I add more information to them so they're not just a copy paste, because we use those to make new questions. These are pretty similar to what the real test will look like. Do you have explanations to the answers in the, yes, in your exams, they should have the explanations. Basically a Word document, I think, is attached there. All right, very good. To your PMP study group, yes, share the channel. Let them watch some videos on there. Also, tell them to join the live stream. That's always good stuff. All right, guys. I will see you guys. You guys, don't forget to tell your friends to join us. I can't emphasize that enough. Tell your friends to join us, right? Anybody studying, you got some friends studying, you got some colleagues studying, tell them to join the study group. The bigger the group, the better. And I will see you guys next week. Same time. Next week. By the way, you know what? One more thing before I go. If you take your exam and you pass your tests, please come back and share it with the group. Do not just leave us, okay? I know I spoke to quite a lot of people that passed their exams and they use my materials. You know, I teach thousands of people use my books and videos and whatever. And I say, hey, can you help me? Can you come and join my study group and just let them know what you did? So if you take your exam coming soon, and if you do, I wish you luck coming up this week. Come back next week. It only takes a few minutes. Just type something in a box. Let us know. It gives encouragement to all. By the way, you guys send me an invite on LinkedIn. I'm not sure if you guys did that already. A lot of people on LinkedIn pass their exams. I tell them congratulations. You'll see them in the feed. The more people you see passing, you know what? The more encouragement you'll get. You'll always be encouraged. Guys. Yes, I want you guys to all share your success. Do we have to get 80% on the mock exam in the first time? No. Keep doing it till you get at least 80%. All right, guys. You guys have a great evening. Well, it's evening for me anyhow. Wherever you are, have a good day, evening, wherever you are. I will see you guys next week, same time. Bring those questions for me. We'll get them answered. We'll get all 10 questions. I'll see you guys next week. Have a good week. Have a good night.